Welcome back to Lessons from the Front, and I'm excited for today's game. I'm in the Netherlands, Arnhem to be precise, and I'm catching a train north to go and meet Danny. And if you haven't met him before, this is my fine opponent, Danny, who kindly picked me up from the Meppel train station and hosted a fantastic game at his home in Dwingeloo. You Dutch viewers out there can tell me whether I managed to get that pronunciation correct or not. Danny had set up a stunning 6x4 foot North African desert battlefield and even prepared two beautifully painted, balanced 1,000 point armies, one DAK and one Desert Rats. After a quick high-low roll, the dice chose my side. I'd be commanding the Germans. Deutsche Afrika Korps had 3 platoons. The artillery platoon had an 88 and the Pack 40. The rifle platoon had 3 rifle squads, a medic and a 3-man command team. And then the heavy weapons platoon had a medium mortar, a heavy machine gun, and 2 anti-tank rifle teams. Okay, let's take a quick look at Danny's British, the famous Desert Rats. And Danny also had 3 platoons at his disposal. His rifle platoon consisted of 2 regular squads and 2 veteran squads and 2 universal carriers. His heavy weapons platoon had a medium machine gun and a medium mortar, and his artillery platoon had a 6-pounder and a 25-pounder and a medic. 2 well-balanced armies. So we rolled dice to see what sort of game we'd be playing, and the dice had us play Seek and Destroy, which is a kill mission, no fancy objectives, just straight up carnage, with every enemy unit destroyed giving you 1 victory point. We would be playing from the long table edges, setting up along a wide front, which would lead to a game of maneuvering, and then we'd be playing a meeting engagement, so no units would be starting on the table. I chose not to have any reserves, whilst Danny opted for a secret flanking attack. This would lead to a few challenging decisions for both of us. One of the big challenges I faced was deciding which end of the table to focus my forces on. Before I reveal what I chose, feel free to hit that pause button and think about how you might have deployed in this situation. With the village on my left, I was tempted to use it as a strong defensive anchor, but I knew that would give Danny's 25-pounder some juicy targets. And since we were playing a seek and destroy mission, I couldn't count on Danny advancing into my guns. I needed to take the initiative. My 88 gun also factored heavily into my decision. Without a tow option, I only had one chance to deploy it effectively, and the best lines of sight were clearly on my right flank, so that's where I decided to concentrate the bulk of my force. I held back the 88s as long as possible during deployment, finally placing it to cover the village on Danny's left with good visibility. I also set up my Pack 40 to cover any enemy advances down the main road. On my left flank, I kept things light, just the medium mortar. That was actually done to try and distract Danny during deployment, and the 88 spotter, which I positioned on a rooftop, and then also an AT rifle placed centrally to react as needed. Most of my force was positioned to push forward through the oases, with the goal of capturing the village on Danny's left. The downside? During deployment, most of my order dice were drawn early, which gave Danny the advantage of seeing my plan unfold and countering my right heavy set up accordingly. My gamble was that when he'd written down his flanking move, he'd assume I was anchoring around the village on my left. Time would tell if that bluff worked. Turn 1 opened with the expected caution of a meeting engagement, units edging onto the table, both sides probing for position. Danny responded smartly, even within that cautious first turn. With many of his order dice coming out later, he read my intentions and moved decisively to counter, deploying the bulk of his infantry into the village and positioning his 6-pounder to support them. His mortar and 25-pounder took up safer ground towards the center, whilst his 2 veteran squads in universal carriers were still held in reserve, one as a flanking move, and that kept me guessing. Turn 2 saw little direct engagement. The only real action came from my attempt to take out Danny's forward artillery observer, who had taken up a bold position on the roof of the building closest to my lines. I opened fire using my 2nd anti-tank rifle team and my command team, but I couldn't do anything but pin him. My medium machine gun had unsuccessfully attempted to take out his 6-pounder, which then counterfired and crippled my MMG team. Danny's wounded forward artillery observer, bravely perched on the top of the building, then began to range in for his 25-pounder, and, fortunately for my 88, missed in its first and second attempts. At the start of turn 3, his off-table artillery barrage came down hard, pinning many of my units, including my 88, and killing my medic. It didn't break my advance, but it slowed it just enough to hand Danny the initiative, allowing him to steer the fight away from the village and towards the oasis, where he clearly intended to make his stand. As Danny advanced on his left towards the oasis, where my Fallschirmjägers had taken up position, we exchanged bursts of small arms fire, skirmishing across the scrub as his infantry pushed in. During this clash, I moved my artillery platoon commander onto the central dune and attempted to pin his 25-pounder, which had already failed twice to range in on my 88. With turn 4 approaching, the odds of it landing a hit on my 88 were climbing to 50%. I also brought a rifle squad up onto the same dune, and they managed to gun down Danny's rifle platoon commander as he dashed forward to support his assault at the oasis. Turn 4 was the turning point of our game. Danny's plan was coming together perfectly. He'd accurately predicted the oasis would become the center of the fight. One of his 5-man veteran squads arrived in a Bren gun carrier at the oasis, with the second arriving through the wheat fields in their own carrier, and they successfully neutralized the rifle squad that had earlier taken out his platoon commander. But just as things were swinging his way, Lady Luck came to my rescue. Twice. The very first dice out of the bag was mine, and I had a big decision to make. My 88 was aimed at Danny's 25-pounder, which had already missed twice, but was now sitting on a 50% chance to land a devastating third-round hit. I debated putting the 88 on ambush to counter his flanking move, but my spotter on the rooftop had a clear line of sight to his 25-pounder, and I couldn't resist taking out that 25-pounder. But I needed a 6 to range in.
Feuerbereitschaft melden! Feuerbereit! Feuer!
And that's exactly what I did. A direct hit. The 25-pounder was destroyed, blown to smithereens. My 88 was saved from an almost certain retaliation. Then came the real heartbreak for Danny. His flanking Bren gun carrier rolled on, the squad inside dismounted and unleashed point-blank fire, 7 dice, needing 3s to hit. Not a single hit landed. It was brutal. My Fallschirmjäger were quick to punish this failure, tearing through the exposed veterans in return. Turn 5 saw Danny continue to press the attack at the oasis. His mauled veteran squad had jumped back into the relative safety of his Bren gun carrier, and he had brought up a fresh squad, advanced to point-blank range, and attempted to wipe out the remaining Fallschirmjägers, almost doing so, reducing them to a single figure. But that Parabat held his nerve, passing a critical morale check with the support of the commanding officer that was within 6 inches. I moved quickly to support this lone figure, bringing up a regular squad to reinforce the position and pulling the brave survivor back into the depths of the oasis. Elsewhere, my MMG team kept Danny's regulars in the village pinned, locking down the center of the table. On the quieter half of the board, a kind of cat and mouse slow motion duel played out. My mortar and Danny's Bren gun carrier, but neither of the teams having much success. Meanwhile, my 88, which had narrowly escaped destruction in turn 4, are now set on ambush, awaiting an expected move around the oasis from Danny's Bren gun carrier. I'd also repositioned my Pak 40 closer to the 88 in the turn before, and in turn 5 it made its mark, winning a long-range duel with Danny's 6-pounder and knocking it clean out of action. Turn 6 opened with a bold move from Danny. In a last-ditch attempt to eliminate the retreating Fallschirmjäger, he pushed his Bren gun carrier into the oasis, risking ambush fire from our 88. That shot rang out, and despite the soft cover offered by the palms, the carrier was blown apart in a single thunderous hit. With that, the final threat was neutralized. I spent the turn mopping up and securing the battlefield. As the sun set over our North African table, the Deutsche Afrika Korps stood firm, bloodied but not broken, having weathered a well-executed assault from Danny's determined desert rats. Okay, Danny, we've had a very exciting game. Anything that you learned from this game today?
Well, Bren gun carriers are not as good as I thought.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, the light machine gun, you need to have guys in it to operate the second light machine gun.
Yeah.
I miscalculated that, so...
So, already you're only getting 2 shots, right?
Yeah.
Per LMG. So, if you don't have somebody in that vehicle, you're only getting 2 shots. Even if you have a pintle.
Yeah.
I must say, I had a really, really good game today. It was very exciting. And I want to say thank you for being an amazing host.
Well, thank you. Honor was mine, and had a good game. And you were lucky on the roll on the indirect shots.
Yes, I did range in, I think, at least twice, needing a 6.
Yeah, twice.
That was very, and it was crucial on the 25 pounder, right?
Yeah, that was crucial. Yeah, most definitely.
Anyway. Thank you for having me here. I truly hope our paths cross again. And thank you to all of you for watching this after action report. While I've been in the Netherlands, I've been gathering footage and researching local history to inspire future content and upcoming games back at Fireteam Elias in Singapore. If you enjoyed this report and want to see more narrative-driven scenarios rooted in real events, don't forget to like, subscribe. There's much more to come. In the meantime, happy gaming!